Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. The news has, and I mean it's not even like a real shift. It's just more of a shift with a question mark next to it. You might remember over the course of the last more or less 3 months, a large portion of the story for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market has been Bitcoin's price, where Bitcoin's going, how high Bitcoin's going to be. We were just recently talking about where Bitcoin's price is going to be in 3 months. And then we have the 6-month period and the 9-month period, the 9-month being the typical time frame that we see that Bitcoin actually ends up hitting its previous all-time high. The situation, as all of you should know by this point, is that we've already hit the previous all-time high, and this market, this cycle is looking extremely, if not entirely, different from every other market cycle that we've had over the course of the last 15 and or something other odd years. So as you might have imagined, as the halving went off without a hitch, the new conversation is, well, the halving happened. What happens now? Yeah, so it's gonna get a bit interesting, as it were. Michael Saylor is once again in the news. He's called attention to the price of Bitcoin compared to where it was during the previous cycle. So if you've noticed, a lot of people are constantly looking at where Bitcoin was, where it's basically going to go. But they tend to use the lowest price point and then the end jumping off point as to where they see Bitcoin could go. This is one of the simpler ways. There are a lot of other people, the other analysts who we've been talking about, who have charts on top of charts on top of charts that are constantly looking at the amount of people in the market, the amount of new addresses, the amount of money flowing through the market, levels of accumulation, what have you, so on and so forth. In a recent post on Twitter, I even had a friend who was asking me, why do I keep calling it Twitter? Because I'm not calling something the letter X. It's actually quite annoying when someone's like, oh yeah, I was on X last night. And it's like, do you know what that sounds like? In a recent post on Twitter, Saylor highlighted that Bitcoin traded at $8,618 on the 11th of May when it halved. It's weird because also 2020 feels like a year and a half ago, and I can't be the only one. It doesn't feel like it's been 4 years. The spotlight comes amid Bitcoin undergoing its fourth halving cycle on the 19th of April. So as you might have imagined, calculations were done trying to figure out where we were before and where we could basically go in the future. To make a gigantically long story short, because a lot of people were discussing this online, it says the idea is if Bitcoin redoes the same exact movements that we saw during the 2020 halving rally, it shows that Bitcoin could or would reach a price of $489,000 by next year. If you've been here the last couple of months again, you'll notice I kept on saying something's very odd with the price predictions that we're getting now. The odd part is that they're basically kind of all the same. So during previous cycles, people, of course, all the famous people are throwing out their price predictions. But this is the first time that more or less, they're generally all exactly the same. The lower end, for those of you who do not know, the lower end of where people think the market is going is between $250,000 and $300,000 per coin. It seems relatively believable given the situation that we're currently in, the levels of accumulation, the ETFs. There's also some more new news about that. The generalized accumulation The levels of accumulation from BlackRock and Fidelity as well are also or have picked up once again. And there's news about them buying multiples of this and that and all these other kinds of things. And then the higher end, the highest number that we've heard so far was a $600,000 Bitcoin, not to be confused with Adam Back's and Samson Mao's $700,000 Bitcoin, which they think will take place within the next 3 to 4 years. They are of the belief, as many other people, that cycles might actually be done. And if cycles are actually finished, then therefore any dips, as Coinbase also said, any dips might actually be short-lived. Therefore, if there are any price dips in the market within Bitcoin, the institutions aren't going to be waiting for prices to go any further down because they are afraid that someone else might actually end up picking them up. So yeah, the other prediction is $489,000 per coin. It seems believable. I keep seeing, and I don't know why, once again, I don't know why people continue to put this news out there, and it's more than frustrating at this point. There's so many articles about Peter Schiff and his warning about Bitcoin. Peter Schiff and his so-and-so. Jamie Dimon said this. You saw a couple of days ago when we went over that, and it's like, who cares? Like, it's this constantly, these people who've been talking negatively about the space since 2012. They're going to continue talking about it until the year 2055. It's just going to be one of the things that they actually do. Also in the news as well, Anthony Scaramucci, who's been in the news unperiodically, I don't know, within the cryptocurrency space over the course of the last 2 years or so, is also talking about the significance of the halving and where he thinks Bitcoin's price is going to go. It's basically a light mimic of what he's been talking about before. He seems usually to be like one of the people who kind of like waits to hear how optimistic or pessimistic other people are, and then he kind of throws his coins into the hat and says the same exact thing as everyone else. We understand that the halving is significant. If you don't, I mean, supply and demand is the only words I can throw in your direction. But this was also quite popular, and I'm not sure if it's because his name is hard to spell or if it's simply because people like the perspective that he gives on Bitcoin's price and in the cryptocurrency space. But this was also incredibly popular, nearly as much as Michael Saylor's thing. Keeping in mind that like these are all happening at the exact same time. Everyone's literally going on to the news talking about where they think Bitcoin's going to go. Plan B, not to be missing out, is once again in the news as well, quite heavily over the course of the last 2 days. He is predicting and has already once again predicted. He's saying that he thinks that Bitcoin is going to go over $300,000. We had that news a couple of weeks ago as well, for those of you who missed it, as he is one of the more popular analysts within the space. His charts are also showing, I think if I remember correctly, the most bearish outcome according to his charts was $90,000 per Bitcoin. And that's like, he said bearish, like, you know, like some kind of an event is like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like bearish. I think his most bullish was over, I think, $500,000 as well. And if you look at the remainder of his charts for other years, it shows a multi-million-dollar Bitcoin. He is one of the more bullish people within the space. Everyone's looking to the stars, seeing where things are going to go. I don't have it in this video. But the amount of discussion about altcoin season is all over the place as well. The idea historically being that after the halving has happened, this is typically when altcoins tend to move upward. I don't know why. Of course, it's, you know, the movement of extra money into the space, what have you, new people getting in. It's all in the news and all those kinds of things. But a lot of people are now, I mean, can we let a week go by? No. The people are now talking about when are the altcoins going to move up. There was another article, I don't have it here. One of the CTOs, I think I want to say CTO of Ripple was also in the news talking about how XRP, since its inception 7 years ago or something like that, is up by 1,500%. There were a lot of articles about, is Cardano on the cusp of going to $1? You think I'm joking? I don't have, like, I refuse to have 19 other tabs here as well. A lot of people are more or less just waiting. I think anticipation has grown so huge within the market, kind of like for things that we're all expecting to happen and know that are going to happen, kind of. But yeah, the discussion once again has lightly shifted, as the halving is no longer going to be a major topic of discussion as it has happened. It's now where we go from here, where the price is going to be by summertime. I'm still, of course, I would love if we actually did hit $150,000, and the accumulation levels are there. It's not like, you know, things have really slowed down, especially over the course of the last 2 days. But yeah, that's the optimism reigns supreme in this market news. Yeah, let's see exactly where prices end up going. And yeah, let's move on. In extremely popular news, Grayscale is once again up to something, and no one knows what. They have announced that they are going to be starting a Bitcoin mini fund. Let me explain. About 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks ago, we began to understand why Bitcoin was moving down in price. A lot of, especially people like Peter Schiff, were announcing Bitcoin's not this and Bitcoin's not that, and whatever else he was saying in the news. What actually was going on is that Grayscale, with their newly converted Bitcoin ETF, for whatever reason, wink, did not lower the fees for their ETF. So while we had news that Grayscale and Fidelity had fees of 0.75%, and then subsequently lowered them to 0.5%, and I believe BlackRock even, I think they lowered theirs, or was it Fidelity? It doesn't matter. Lowered theirs to, I think, 0% before the first $6 billion enter into their funds. While everyone else was lowering their fees, Grayscale did not. And assumption that someone richer and more powerful must have been telling them not to lower their fees. That's an assumption, because no one who is in charge of a multi-billion-dollar company would go, why are we not getting any money? I guess maybe should we raise our fees? It's that kind of thing. I assume someone must have been. Anyway, so the problem is that because their fees were so high, they actually caused Bitcoin's price to go down, which is also another question mark for price manipulation, because that would have never happened if their fees weren't 1.5%. And then people were asking them on the news, for those of you who missed it, they were asking the people from Grayscale, the CEO, his name is Michael Sonnenschein, and they said, hey, why your fees so high? And his response was, we will lower them when the market matures. And I was like, okay, something fishy is going on. And then we had rumors about a week or two after that were just rumors that Grayscale was going to be offering a brand new Bitcoin trust in some sort of way. And now the news is, yeah, they're opening something called a Bitcoin mini fund, mini trust, as it were. It says the company will be contributing 63,204 Bitcoin into the mini fund, because for those of you who do not know, Grayscale has an egregious amount of Bitcoin, as they've been accumulating for a number of years. It says the real headline was that the fees for Grayscale's new product, the Bitcoin mini trust, are going to be 0.15%. So it boggles the mind as to why they did not or have not lowered the fees on their ETF from 1.5%. but they create a new Bitcoin mini trust, and it's literally 10% of the other fees. So a lot of question marks there. Grayscale's latest filing reveals some details about the Bitcoin mini trust. According to documents, in addition to a more competitive fee of 0.15, which I think would make them the second lowest, the new ETF under the Bitcoin mini trust BTC will include, okay, it says will include various information. That's not a proper sentence. It says another notable point is the document is the amount of Bitcoin. They already said that. The statute of damage. More competitive fee option will be offered. So the only thing that I can think of is something rich is happening behind the scenes. Someone must have told Grayscale, do not lower your fees. They understand that by not lowering their fees, they're literally like losing tons of Bitcoin. So they're making a Bitcoin mini trust, which I can only assume sounds something relatively similar to like a stock split, where a stock may go into 1 or 3 different versions of itself, and therefore it is not fragmented, but it becomes easier for people to be able to purchase. So as opposed to a stock costing $1,000 per share, you may have one that is, really broken down, and each share is only the equivalent of $25, allowing more people to get into it. This seems to be, I'm shrugging here, this seems to be one of the more preferred ways by a large number of institutions and also people. We've also heard about banks as well getting into the space. So I guess for the everyday person, but I mean, as far as I have been seeing, the ETFs, like per share, they're around like $48. So they're also fragmented as well. Fragments of Berlin, of Bitcoin, what have you. So I assume that this is also going to be even smaller. There's no information on this. This news was just released. But I assume we will be, as the week goes on, we will receive information about this as well. Yeah. Very popular news. I assume because it's Grayscale, we should logically, hear me out here, we should logically see a ginormous amount of attention being paid to the same exact thing as their ETF, but with 10% of the fee. And if that does happen, and this is somehow easier for the average person to throw their money into the market, then, price rise, more Bitcoin being accumulated, what have you. That's the Grayscale has a brand new Bitcoin trust, mini trust fund that's going to be launching. And yeah, let's move on. So this might be one of the weirdest things ever. Like this is not even a joke. So back in good old 2017, it's always a focal point within the market. We had information that Ripple was partnering with a number of banks and institutions around the world, and these banks and institutions would soon be using XRP. Cool. Not the most important part, but it's you'll get it. One of the banks that came forward was called SBI. SBI, they're from Japan, and apparently they're the largest bank, the largest conglomerate, the largest something within Japan. They own many other different subsidiaries, and you might even remember back at the end of 2017, we heard from their then, I have no idea who's running the company now, from their then CEO, I think his name was Yoshitaka Katao, who even tweeted and wrote something along the lines of XRP $10. And that, of course, led to the frenzy that we all saw back in 2017. It's very difficult to have, this large, gigantic bank and the head of the bank tweet $10 per XRP and not have people go completely insane. The announcement then was that they were going to be opening up their own cryptocurrency exchange, which I believe that they did. And XRP was going to be the main trading pair, which I believe it also was for a good period of time. And then also something else was happening. And then SBC, you get it. So we haven't heard from them in a while. I remember maybe the end of last year, autumn of last year, we had them in the news. It was something about Ripple. It was something about XRP, some kind of integration. There also have been rumors for years that they've been also rumors that have been accumulating XRP themselves. So when this news popped up, I was like, what? Really? Okay. So SBI is back in the news, but not for the reason why you think. And I didn't even know this was a thing, and I don't know how they're planning on doing it. SBI VC Trade, that's the name of the cryptocurrency portion of them. The cryptocurrency arm of prominent Japanese financial institution SBI Japan has launched a new program allowing users to earn passive income on their Shiba Inu and other supported cryptocurrencies. Announced via the company's official media platform on Twitter and detailed on their blog, the program leverages a lending service called ALTCOIN. Here's the tweet for it right here. It is in Japanese, and if you can read it, bless your heart. But for the rest of us, that would be the 25th of April. So in a couple of days, 2024 at 19 o'clock. For those of you who don't know, I recently had this conversation with someone. Quick point. The entire rest of the world uses this kind of time. Americans tend to call this military time. For those of you who cannot read it, it's actually quite easy. Just subtract 12 from the first number and you get what time it is in PM. So 19 o'clock is basically 7 PM. Just subtract. Just throwing it out there because I've recently had this conversation with someone who was like, I don't know what 2245 is. Just subtract 12 from the first. Anyway, so the numbers say 0.2% and then 28 and something I can't read. And then 2% and 7 something I can't read. 5% and 2% as well. The new offering targets cryptocurrency holders who intend to hold their digital assets for the long term as a long-term investment, but would also like to generate additional returns in the meantime. A rent coin essentially allows users to lend out their cryptocurrency holdings and earn interest during the lending period. Oh, maybe these are days, 28 days, 7 days, 28 days, 28 days. But why the same date? I have all the confusion. So this was one, not even from SBI, but years ago, this was a very, very popular conversation idea topic in the cryptocurrency space a number of years ago. Let me explain. As Bitcoin was released, we had Bitcoin, we had Litecoin, we had WorldCoin, like an actual coin, not the scam that's currently out there. It's a scam. Put your hand down. It's a literal scam that's out there right now. And we had Vertcoin and all these other coins that were out there. The general idea was they were basically mimics of Bitcoin. It's a coin with a slightly different system, maybe more transactions per second, but it doesn't really do anything per se. It's not that it even should do anything. That's also something that's been thrown at us from the traditional financial world. We can't simply live in a world where money just, is. It has to also have a function and smart contracts and all these other things. Thus, we got Ethereum and many other coins which are now dubbed POS, proof of stake. The idea was that you lock your Ether, you lock your Cardano, you blah, 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 into a chain, onto a something, into a protocol. Guess what? You're making passive income without even trying. That's the general idea of it. So people were like, in the future, the idea is that if Bitcoin and crypto became like really big, really popular, we would eventually start to see people lending out their Bitcoin to receive passive income from it. we had a few websites that did pop up, but however, with many things that randomly pop up within the space, some of these things were scams because people were simply like, 87% of my money back, and you think I'm joking. If they're not giving you realistic numbers, kind of turn away. I literally saw something like 4 days ago for some new crappy coin on Solana that popped up. And they were talking about a 100% annual return. And I was like, someone's going to fall for that. It's clearly a scam. So a lot of these things were offering 87%, 27% per year back on your Bitcoin. They disappeared and no one kind of talked about them as much anymore, but you might notice on a number of larger, more popular, established cryptocurrency exchanges, they'll sometimes, and I say this lightly, only offer around 0.5% and or 1% back if you lend out your Bitcoin and stuff like that. It of course is as risky as other things, but people are always looking, people aren't satisfied with coins doing a 50x in price over the course of a year. So they always need to, skim some more off the top. And it's like, okay, so yeah, this was very popular news. I think there were far too many keywords in here for it not to be popular. Between SBI, the letters XRP floating around inside here, Shiba Inu, which is also making one of the weirdest comebacks in the entire world. For those of you who haven't been seeing what was it? The coin burn for Shiba Inu is something like, I think it rose like 26,000%. And it's like, who's making these numbers? It's all over the freaking place. So cool. Yeah. I assume we're going to see a lot more things like this. I mean within the next year or two, if especially we end up getting to 1 billion people within the cryptocurrency market. One of the main, I think, draws for crypto for a lot of people, including myself as well, I'll be completely honest, is the idea of passive income. I like real estate because passive income. I like the idea of dividend stocks because passive income. If we can be completely honest with ourselves, as we spoke about a couple of months ago, no one really likes working. And once again, Carol, I know there's one person out there who just rose their hand and said that they like working. You are 1 in a trillion. I've met, I think, 2 people my entire life who actually like working. It's because they found the job and their actual passion. So for the rest of us, everyone else out there, no one wants to really work. We all kind of want to relax on an island somewhere. So, and I think that will become one of the main draws for crypto. Not so much just holding it and making money, but also being able to live passively off of accumulating, holding it, putting it onto a cryptocurrency exchange and kind of seeing the money flow. But yeah, I think the next 2 years, we're going to start seeing a lot more news like this from companies. I mean, a lot of them already do have it. You can even check on I'll say it this way. I would check your local cryptocurrency exchange as long as you are legally able to do so. And if you do and are able to legally stake your coins within the country that you're in, it might be of your best economic interest to check the fees that these crypto exchanges are charging. Because I've had a gander, I've had a little look around, and I've seen that some crypto exchanges, they charge you a fee for staking or protecting your coins as you're making passive income. And some exchanges will charge a fee of 0.5%, 1%. I've seen some do 3 or 4%, and then there is another exchange that does around 20% and 25%, and that eats quite heavily into your profits. So yeah, have a look around. But I have a friend as well. Hello, if you're watching, probably not. One of his goals is literally to accumulate ether because he wants to live completely passively from staking his coins on it. So yeah. Very odd news. Not today. Was not expecting SBI to be in the news about being able to stake Shiba Inu. And it says other coins, but once again, Shiba Inu is usually probably the most popular one. yeah, I do think that is going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.